Yashoda Nandana Jaya Vrndesa Ranjana Jaya Yashoda Nandana Jaya Vrndesa Ranjana Jaya Yamuna Tiravanachari Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Yamuna Tiravanachari Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Jyom Vishnupad Paramhamsa Parivrajakarya Ashtotara Shadashri Śrīmad His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jyom Vishnupad Paramhamsa Parivrajakarya Ashtotara Shadashri Śrīmad Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Ki. Ananda Kodi Vaishnav Vrinda Ki. नामाचार्य श्री हरिदास ठाकुर की प्रेम से कहो जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद की जय जय श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोप गोविंदनाथ श्याम कुंड राधा कुंड गिरिराज गोवर्धन की जय। ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय। जय निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे। All glories to assembled devotees, all glories to assembled devotees, all glories to assembled devotees, all glories to Shri Guru and Gauranga, all glories to Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. We are reading from Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, Canto 7, Chapter 13, entitled The Behavior of a Perfect Person, verse number 15 and onwards. Tam natva bhyarchya vidhivat padayo shirasprishan padayo shirasasprishan Vivitsur idam aprakshan Mahabhagavato suraha Tam natva bhyarchya vidhivat Padayo shirasasprishan Vivitsur idam aprakshan Mahabhagavato asuraha Tam natva bhyarchya vidhivat Padayo shirasasprishan Vivitsur idam aprakshin Mahabhagavato suraha Tam natva bhyarchya vidhival Padayo shirasasprishan Vivilsur idam aprakshin Mahabhagavato suraha Tam natva bhyarchya vidhival Padayo shirasasprishan Vivilsur idam aprakshin Mahabhagavato Suraha. Tam Natvabhyarchya Vidhivat. Padayo Shirasa Sprishan. Vivitsuridam Aprakshin. Mahabhagavato Suraha. Mataji. Tannatvabhyarchya vidhivat. Padayo Shirasa Sprishan. Vivitsuridam Aprakshin. Bhagavato Suraha. Tamnatvabhyarchya vidhivat. Padayo Shirasa Sprishan. Vivitsuridam Aprakshin. Mahabhagavato Suraha. Word to word translation responsibly, please. Tam, him, the saintly person. Natva, after offering obeisances unto. Abhyarchya, and worshipping. Vidhivat, in terms of the rules and regulations of etiquette. Padayoho, the lotus feet of the saintly person. Shirasa, with the head. Sprishan, touching. Vivitsuhu, desiring to know about him. The saintly person. Idam, the following words. Aprakshit, inquired. Mahabhagavataha, the very advanced devotee of the Lord. Asuraha, although born in an Asura family. The advanced devotee Prahlad Maharaj duly worshipped and offered obeisances to the saintly person who had adopted a python's means of livelihood. After thus worshipping the saintly person and touching his own head to the saint's lotus feet, Prahlad Maharaj, in order to understand him, inquired very submissively as follows. Verse 16 and 17. Bipharshikayam Pivanam Sadyamo Bhagavan Yatha Vittam Chaivodyan Mavatam Bhogo Vittavatamiha Bhoginam Khalu Dehoyam Piva Bhavadi Nanyatha. Translation: seeing the saintly person to be quite fat, Prahlad Maharaj said, "My dear sir, you undergo no endeavor to earn your livelihood, but you have a stout body exactly like that of a materialistic enjoyer. I know that if one is very rich and has nothing to do, he becomes extremely fat by eating and sleeping and performing no work." Purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj, Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur did not like his disciples to become very fat in the course of time. He would become very anxious upon seeing his fat disciples becoming bhogis or enjoyers of the senses. This attitude is herewith confirmed by Prahlad Maharaj, who was surprised to see a saintly person adopting Ajagaravritti and becoming very fat. In the material world also, we generally see that when a man who is poor and skinny gradually endeavors to earn money through business or some other means, and he then gets the money, he enjoys the senses to his satisfaction. By enjoying the senses, one becomes fat. Therefore, in spiritual advancement, becoming fat is not at all satisfactory. We'll read the next verse as well. They are also a bit connected in terms of the purport. Nate shayanasya niruddyamasya brahmanuhartho yada eva bhoga abhoginoyam tava vipradeha pivayadastadda nakshamam chetet. O Brahmana, fully in knowledge of transcendence, you have nothing to do and therefore you are lying down. It is also understood that you have no money for sense enjoyment. How then has your body become so fat? Under the circumstances, if you do not consider my question impudent, kindly explain how this has happened. Purport. Generally, those engaged in spiritual advancements take food only once. Okay. Either in the afternoon or in the evening. If one takes food only once, naturally he does not become fat. The learned sage, however, has quite fat, and therefore Prahlad Maharaj was very much surprised. Because of being experienced in self-realization, a transcendentalist certainly becomes bright-faced, and one who is advanced in self-realization must be considered to possess the body of a Brahmana. Because the bright-faced, saintly person was lying down and not working, and yet was quite fat, Prahlad Maharaj was puzzled and wanted to question him about this. Om Jnanatimranthasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Mano Bhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padagamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanutam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhannitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanjana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanusute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vanchagalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadha Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Bhutair Mahatbhir Yaima Puro Vibhu Nurmaya Shede Yatamusha Purusha Bhunte Gunan Shodashatmaka Solankrishishta Bhagavan Vacham Sime. Hare Krishna. This chapter is describing the characteristics of a perfected person in the order of renounced life in the sannyas ashram. So there have been many verses describing the qualities and activities of a sannyasi in the perfected stage of life, the fourth stage of life. Having described the qualities and characteristics of a sannyasi, here Narada Muni is going to explain to Yudhishthira Maharaj an example of a saintly person in the renounced order of life. So here Narada Muni cites a pastime wherein Prahlad Maharaj is traveling, and his travel is very unique. It is not an ordinary travel. We already heard about sense gratification in this purports. So currently and all the time, travel has been very prominent in the society. Previously, it was difficult to travel. It was a very difficult process, travel in itself. Walking long distance, and if you want to go across the countries, you had to go by the boat, and there are so many uncertainties. However, in the modern days, travel has become relatively easier, and it's a big thing in people's life, just travel. Especially when we speak to locals here, travel is such a big thing. We want to just travel. Travel equal to enjoyment, isn't it? Travel equal to sense gratification. So we know, as a young man or a woman is growing up, maybe end of the teens, or just one wants to travel. Now I want to take a break here, I want to travel. Famous destinations are there. You want to go to Europe, want to go to Southeast Asia, want to go to South America, want to travel. So travel has become such a prominent thing, and this wasn't the case in India even many years back, but now it has become very popular. Package travel, isn't it? It has been very much advertised. You can go overseas. Why spend vacation in India? Previously it was going to some hill station, go here or there. No, go overseas. I know, even some of my relatives, they said, okay, now we are going on a travel, 1 month travel in Europe. And the interesting thing is, most of the travelers, which age group do they belong to? A lot of travelers are retired people. We can see here, flight loads of Chinese people coming, Japanese people coming. Have you seen them? You go to Swanston Street, sometimes you can see lots of them coming along. And they just want to see the places, they want to enjoy. So there are special tours for them. Similarly, India also now it is very popular. Even after retirement, if you have well-to-do, after retirement, go see the places. And what do they do? Explore. What everyone wants to explore the eyes, correct? And see so many different things. Then explore the food, different delicacies, maybe abominable, but we want to try out everything. The reality is that we have traveled enough. Is it true? We have traveled enough. Where have we traveled? We have traveled in all species of life. Practically, we have gone through so many species of life, and we have gone through all the continents. Isn't it? The traveling is not such a big thing. We make a big deal out of it, but people think travel means we are learning a lot of things. We are experiencing by learning. We are experiencing a lot of things. We are learning wisdom. But where is the learning? Where is the wisdom? After travel, what's next? Come back. Pocket is empty, and then work hard. Go through the same lifestyle. There is nothing has been learned. Nothing is there to learn, because just by traveling, one can learn nothing. Isn't it true? What can one learn just by traveling? The real learning is by the association of the devotees. By wisdom, we have scriptures. By that we can learn. Just by travel, one cannot learn anything. Okay, if you consider that travel in the ancient times, that was Tirtha Yatra. That is a different thing. Now also there is religious tourism. That's a big thing. In India, if you go to Vrindavan also, I was in Vrindavan, groups of people are coming, and there is one person with the headphone explaining a few things, and a big group, they have their own badge to identify, we belong to this group, going from one temple to other temple. It is religious tourism. It's not as bad. But still, it's not up to the mark. It is not up to the mark of Śrīmad Bhāgavatam. Isn't it? What Bhāgavatam says? Yasyasti, what is it? Yasyatma buddhir kunapetru thādhuke swadhir kalatradishu bhauma ijahi First, who speaks this? Is from the 10th canto of Śrīmad Bhāgavatam. Krishna himself speaks. Yasyatma buddhi kunape tridhatuke. If somebody thinks that I am the body, this is the first ignorance. Yasyatma buddhi kunape tridhatuke, made of material elements, 3 modes of material nature. I am the body, that is the first ignorance. Then, swadhi kalatradishu bhauma ijyahi. Then consider who are extended to me, my family, they are mine. That's the next. Then, bhauma ijyahi. Wherever I took birth, that is the place of worship. Yes? Can we see that? We can, state-wise we can see that, right? Wherever we are born, we can see, this is the best place. This is the best country. Patriotism is based on this, isn't it? Bhauma ijyahi. Bhauma ijyahi. Then, yet tirtha buddhir salilena karhichit. Next one is yet tirtha buddhi. What if you go to a tirtha? Tirtha yatra is very prominent. If you go to tirtha and they think that taking bath in the holy river is the sum and substance of the travel. Just go, maybe take darshan, maybe take a dip in the holy river, and that is the end of it. Krishna is not accepting this. Janeshu abhijneshu sa eva goghara. Very heavy statement. Sa eva goghara. If one's consciousness is, I am the body and all my relatives, they are mine, and the place of birth is the place of worship. And if you go to the holy place, the purpose of going to the holy place is to take dip in the holy river. That kind of consciousness is considered the consciousness of a go or a ghara, the consciousness of a cow or an ass. Who says? Krishna speaks. It's pretty heavy, isn't it? So, religious tourism, what is that? Just visit places and take dip. But there is no learning again, because Prabhupada explains, going to the holy place, the purpose is to hear from the saintly people. So even when we go through Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, we can read the travel of Vidura. 3rd canto of Śrīmad Bhāgavatam. 1st canto, we can see how Vidura left, and 3rd canto, we can hear about travel of Vidura. And Vidura is meeting with saintly person, inquiring and hearing about the absolute truth. From Uddhava, he hears about the Krishna's pastimes inside and outside of Vrindavan. From Maitreya, he starts hearing, starting from the creation. So many detailed knowledge that he is hearing. So this is the real purpose of travel, not just simply going to the holy places. One has to be enlivened in devotion service. Now, many devotees went to India. His Holiness Radhana Swami Maharaj did big yatra. So many devotees went and heard from Maharaj. I think now, recently, Vedavyas Pri Maharaj is doing yatra, isn't it? So, there are lectures where we can hear about Krishna. So, this is the purpose. So, this is not just simply religious tourism, but one is enlivened hearing about Krishna. So, the purpose of going to Dham is to hear and chant about Krishna. So, one has to be very careful when we go to the Dham. The purpose has to be very clear. That's the reason it is advised, don't go and stay in the Dham for a very long time. Why? What happens? Whatever consciousness we have, that consciousness will come back for most of the people. I remember speaking to a devotee who is fully engaged in Dham. He was sharing his realization. He was telling, Radha Vallabha Prabhu, he was telling, he said, I am so absorbed in the service, so there is no time to think about anything else. Fully absorbed in the TOVP project. That is a great dedication, giving up the job here, going there and fully immersed in service. That will work. Full immersion in service will work in the Dham as well as here. Not only in the Dham, here also it will work. But otherwise it's a problem. And especially it is a problem in the Dham. What happens? The consciousness will revert. It will come back to what it was originally. So all the thoughts of sense gratification comes now where? In the Dham. So one has to be very careful. One has to have service. Otherwise, if you want to go and do sadhana, either one has to be qualified to be completely engaged in sadhana, or one need to have sufficient service so that one is fully engaged. Otherwise, it will not work. So this is the point. So here, devotees are very careful going to the Dham. And also, another interesting thing. If you go to the Dham, we think, yes, we will make advancement, which is true, if you do it the right way. We have to associate with the right people. Even saintly people, we have to be quite careful who we are associating with. I'll tell you one incident. Last year, I went to Vrindavan, and we were doing parikrama, and one day, Dinabandhu Prabhu's servant called me. Prabhu is going to just nearby place, near our temple. It's a very beautiful place, just 5 minutes walk, but there are so many tamal trees, there are so many kadamba trees. You don't feel like near that, the Bhaktivedanta mark, there are no traffic. It is just 5 minutes walk, but you are there. And you feel really you are in Vrindavan in the forest. I said, oh, really good. So let's go. So I just walked. I was staying close to the temple. I walked and we went there. And it was a very beautiful place, just not even 5 minutes. It's a private property, so we cannot just go. But Prabhu can go, because Dinabandhu Prabhu, he is going there for so many years, so many decades. So we went there and we were just chanting and walking. And Prabhu, wherever we go, Prabhu will explain all the trees. Okay, here is a tamal tree, this is a kadamba tree, they are together. He will explain the whole pastime. So I was just walking in that private property, it's a big property. And then in the middle, there is a big lecture hall. So a devotee was giving lecture. So Prabhu said, he is actually the real one. He speaks, he is the real one. So we can go and hear. So we went there, all of us, we went, just sat there, and they were very respectful. Not so many devotees, maybe 60, 70 devotees, a big hall, 60, 70 devotees, So the speaker, not really ISKCON, belongs to ISKCON. So we sat there because we wanted to take darshan. So meanwhile, we just sat there and we started listening. It was a very good lecture, based on Chaitanya Charitamrita he was speaking. And so we got out. Then the devotee who was assisting asked me, shall we come daily and shall we listen from this personality? So it clicked me. I told, no, we shouldn't do this. We have to be very careful where we are taking shiksha from or the instructions from. I told, no, we cannot do that. We have to hear from Srila Prabhupada and Srila Prabhupada's followers. So taking shiksha within ISKCON is very important. It's not that something else is wrong or anything of that sort. We have to be very careful how we are getting cultivated in our Krishna consciousness. We have to carry the mood of Srila Prabhupada and Srila Prabhupada's followers. So we are not an open, we can hear anything about Krishna from anyone. No, because we are very specific. Because there are different moods in worshipping the Supreme Lord. And all these moods can be bona fide. We are not against anything. But for us to be safe, we have to be very careful. First, we should hear from the bona fide sampradayas. That is the first check. Devotees have to be very careful. But when we are in Vrindavan, that's not the case. Even among ISKCON devotees, there are so many famous Babas. They may be speaking about Krishna. But first we had to identify, do they belong to the four sampradayas? If not, first this is strict no. Why do we have to listen then? Then even if they belong to four sampradayas, do we really have to listen from them? We have to take shiksha coming from Srila Prabhupada. Have we thoroughly even studied Srila Prabhupada's books? We had to ask ourselves. Prabhupada has given everything. Gaur Govinda Maharaj, His Holiness Gaur Govinda Maharaj, he makes a very important statement. He says he feels very sad when devotees say that Prabhupada hasn't given everything. And even during that time, devotees were going here and there to get advanced knowledge, so-called advanced knowledge. More than what is given. Why? Devotees haven't read Prabhupada's books. Read Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, read Chaitanya Charitamrita. If you can understand Chaitanya Charitamrita, even the Adilila, okay, it's a big deal, isn't it? It is so deep. Read the 4th chapter of Adilila, even the later chapters. It is explaining everything about rasa. The problem is we cannot understand. Can we understand necro devotion? In the Bhakti Shastri course, only 19 chapters are recommended. It's so much details are given. So everything is there. So this is very important. So as devotees, we have to be very careful where we are taking shiksha from. And since we are followers of Srila Prabhupada, we had to be very mindful where we are taking Shiksha from. So that is the purpose of going to Dham, listening from saintly devotees. Very important. Now, here Prahlad Maharaj is traveling with a different mission altogether. It's a completely different mission. What is his mission? He wants to scientifically study the characteristics and symptoms of pure devotees, of saintly devotees. Can you imagine? So this is the travel purpose of Prahlad Maharaj. He is a pure devotee. Think about Prahlad Maharaj. Who is Prahlad Maharaj? Prahlad Maharaj is a pure devotee. He has perfected his life and he has demonstrated his absorption in Krishna. He was being tried to be killed in so many different ways, isn't it? How? Bit by snakes, thrown off a cliff, flames, put him in the water, try to drown, under the feet of an elephant, demons, okay, they were surrounded by demons, Asurakula. So this is what happened, and then he went through all this. Did he ever deviate his thought from Krishna? No. He was always absorbed in Krishna. Smaranam, completely in Smaranam. And the Lord personally appeared to protect him. He saw the Lord personally. The Lord put him on his lap. Such intimate association with the Lord. So he's a pure devotee, isn't it? But still, what he wants to study? He wants to study the characteristics of saintly devotees. How amazing is it? Isn't it? If we can do that, it is so good. Life will be better for us. We are associating with saintly devotees. We have so many saintly devotees. If we have tendency to criticize devotees, get into the mood of Sri Prahlad Maharaj. Try to see good qualities in devotees. How devotees are doing service better than us. How devotees are doing better sadhana than us. How devotees are chanting better. How devotees are reading. Can you see? We can get inspiration from devotees. That's why it is mentioned, this Bhagavatam class or Krishna Conscious Temple and Krishna Conscious Association is just like a classroom where students are from grade 1, neophyte, to PhD. Everyone is in one classroom. So don't think that all advanced devotees are not there. Everyone is there in the classroom. Everyone will walk just like normal people, but everyone is there. So it is a bona fide process for us to study the symptoms of advanced devotees or any saintly devotee. See how such and such devotee is acting, how such and such devotee is responding to such a situation. Rather than finding the fault, we can find good qualities in devotees. That will enliven us. That's why it is good to glorify devotees. It is mentioned, the glorification of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is not complete without glorification of His devotees. That's the reason Rupa Goswami, he wrote Lakhu Bhagavatamrita. Anyone read Lakhu Bhagavatamrita? No, it's a very good book to read. After reading all Prabhupada's books, sufficiently, then you can read Brihad Bhagavatamrita by Sanatana Goswami. After reading Brihad Bhagavatamrita by Sanatana Goswami, one can read Lakhu Bhagavatamrita by Rupa Goswami. Lakhu Bhagavatamrita is the science of avatars. All the avatars given in Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, they have been classified and given the characteristics. Everything is explained about different avatars of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So the Rupa Goswami writes, the first part, which is the majority of the part, is the description of avatars and classification of different avatars. Because we know in the first canto only 22 avatars are given. Then so many Yuga avatars, Manvantara avatars, Leela avatars, so many things are given in Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, but everything is systematically analyzed by Srila Rupa Goswami. After that, Rupa Goswami starts the next section of the book. That is about devotees. So Rupa Goswami says, this description of avatar and the glorification of avatar are not complete without glorification of the devotees. So here, Prahlad Maharaj is indeed glorifying this personality who is performing Ajagara Vritti. Ajagara means python, Ajagara. Ajagara means just like the python or the characteristics of the python. So that's Ajagara Vritti. So he's the python man, he's a pure devotee, and where is he lying down? On the bank of Kaveri, South India. He's traveling. So he's seeing, this devotee who is lying down. And what is his symptom? His symptom is very interesting. He hasn't seen such kind of symptom. He is very fat and just lying down. Interestingly enough, it's not Prahlad Maharaj who is the guru of Sri Prahlad Maharaj. Narada Muni. He also went on a travel before. Do you know his travel? He wanted to find? Exactly, that's right, full marks. Best devotee. Who is the best devotee? Not on the earth planet. He has access to all the lokas within one universe. In one Brahmanda, he can go to all the lokas. And he can go beyond one loka. He can go to the spiritual world. This is the power of Narada Muni. He can travel anywhere. So Narada Muni wanted to find the best devotee. So he traveled everywhere. And he came to conclusion. Okay, that is the first section of Brihad Bhagavatamrita. That is the first section of Brihad Bhagavatamrita. Now, Narada Muni is not quoting his story, interestingly enough. He is quoting the story of Prahlad, his disciple. In the Narada Muni story also, at one point, Lord Shiva says Prahlad is even greater. So he wanted to see Prahlad. He went to Prahlad, his disciple. And he goes, when the Prahlad Maharaj is trying to do the puja, to wash the feet of Narada Muni, and Narada Muni is in complete ecstasy, starts glorifying Prahlad Maharaj, his own disciple. So here, Narada Muni, we can see, is in ecstasy. He is glorifying his own disciple Prahlad and his journey to find the perfected person. And now here, Prahlad Maharaj is with this person who is performing Ajagara Vritti, and he is very fat. So here, Prabhupada explains that Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj didn't want his disciples to be too fatty. He was very careful. Prabhupada in his lectures also explains, he used to criticize one who is very fatty. Why are you putting on so much weight? How much are you eating? So Prabhupada explains the standard is mentioned in the purport. What is that? If you eat one time, one is a yogi. 2 times means bhogi. Thrice means rogi. Rogi means deceased. First time is yogi. Yogi. It's like bhogi means enjoyer. 3rd time yogi, one can get sick. Of course, we had to apply this practically. If everyone stop eating and only eat once, I don't know how long we are going to go. So one has to apply practically, one has to eat enough. One has to eat sufficiently. But don't take the Kartik vow like only Mahaprasadam. I know one devotee took a vow, staying in the ashram. What was the vow? Kartik time, only Mahaprasadam. What will happen? After 1 month, something will happen to the digestion, right? So one has to be very practical, one has to be very careful. And the other extreme is, there is another extreme also. One is only Mahaprasadam, that is one extreme. Another extreme is so strict, only 1 time fruits during the whole month of Kartik, and when it comes to Bhishma Panchaka, hardly eating anything. So one has to be careful what is one's capacity. One shouldn't do whimsically these kind of things. I heard the story of a brahmachari in Mayapur. He followed so strictly, hardly eating anything. After 1 month, he couldn't digest anything. Then he had to go for 4-month Ayurveda treatment to get some digestion back. Can you see? So one has to be very careful. So our process is devotional service, not fasting. So yes, we can eat sufficiently. Srila Prabhupada had his program, he established, he didn't say 1 time eating, even though it is mentioned, but for normal devotees, he didn't establish a program of only meal 1 time. Did he do that? No, he never did that. Rather, he established where we can have breakfast, we can have lunch, we can have dinner. But sufficiently, isn't it? Not too much. So one can have sufficient prasadam. One doesn't have to be fanatic. At the same time, one has to be very careful. Atyahara prayasascha prajalpa niyamagraha janasangasya cha laulyam cha shadbhir bhaktir vinashyati. Nectar of instruction. This was even among even Bhaktivedanta Maharaj's time, among the Gaudiya devotees. This was a book which has been memorized by all of them. It's just like 11 verses, right? And start from the very basic, go all the way till very advanced. And so, devotees used to memorize all the verses of Nectar of Instruction, Upadeshamrita, by Rupa Goswami. 11 verses only. And it's the second verse. So they can check how things are going. Atyahara, the first thing is mentioned, what is that? Atyahara. Overeating or over-collecting. Overeating, prayasa is over-endeavoring, overeating or over-collecting. So, when we talk about bhoga, it's not just only eating. In this case, it's talking about eating. But atyahara not just refers to eating, but also refers to over-collecting. Why? If there are over-collecting means, there is so much of endeavor that is required, prayasa. And then where is the time for spiritual life? No, it is not just that there is no time for the spiritual life. If one has to over-collect, one's heart is in the money, wealth, the possessions. That's what it shows. There is a taste for that. And since there is a taste for that, one is working so hard. More than what is necessary. So we shouldn't think, now I will work so hard that I will minimize my devotional life. Why? Because after 25 years, I want to retire. And so, now I can compromise my devotion service. It doesn't work like that. What happens? One may earn sufficiently for retirement, but there is nothing in the heart. Because renunciation is of the heart. It's not just the external. It's not, okay, I have enough bank balance, now I can only do devotion service. I can retire from other things. It doesn't work like that. It will be forced. One is forced to work because one is cultivating the taste. So one has to be very careful. About eating, our Atul Krishna Prabhu, he was mentioning, he was supposed to give the class. Morning he called me. After the puja, Prabhu said, I'm feeling exhausted after yesterday's program, so do something, okay? So he was giving, in 2 days back, he gave a very beautiful class, and he was mentioning that if we eat only tasty stuff, for example, only maha, we get attached to that, then what happens? If we give simple prasadam, one cannot have that, one feels, some defect in this, it's not good. Correct? The prasadam, we classify prasadam. That prasadam, that was very tasty prasadam. There was enough ghee. This is not enough ghee. So it's not prasadam anymore. Previously it was all glories to Mahaprasadam, glorifying Krishna, thinking about Krishna. This prasadam, so amazing. And now what happened? It's the same prasadam, but it became simple, that's all. So we had to watch out our consciousness. So one has to be very careful. We are honoring the prasadam. So one thing is, if we are hungry, if we are very hungry and eat, then no problem. Correct? If there is a real hunger, then there is no problem. What is the real taste? Real taste is appetite. So if we eat regulated, then it is okay. We are hungry, then we can eat. Anything comes, we are very hungry, we will eat. Isn't it? If we are very hungry, do we check, what is there? No, whatever comes we eat and we are satisfied. So that is the trick. So this actually goes along. If we eat regulated, then we are hungry. Next meal we are hungry. That is the test. If you are not hungry, don't eat. So if we do that, it is good for the health. Ayurveda also it is mentioned. What is that? If we are not hungry and if we eat, it creates ama, undigested food. And then that leads to other problems. All the diseases are starting from the stomach. So we see, we have done that plenty of times. Eating, not hungry and eating. And then, digestion is screwed up. So one has to be very careful. So as the years pass, we cannot do that, right? In 20s, it is very easy. You eat, you don't care, right? Eat the full meal. Next time, if you're hungry or not, eat again, no problem. Next meal, again eat. But, after 40, it becomes a little more difficult. One is forced to control the senses. Otherwise, one can see the immediate suffering. So which is good. It is good reminding, we can see Atyahara is not good for me, I can see that. So one has to be regulated. The earlier the better, but at least after some time one should come to a bit of a control. We need to know what to eat, what not to eat. What is going to support our devotion service and what is not supporting our devotion service. One time, I was with my spiritual master in Vrindavan, and I served him. He had his prasadam lunch. So that is his main meal. He had his lunch, and after that, what are you going to eat? So I said, Guru Maharaj, I'm going to eat the same prasadam what you're eating. So is it sufficiently cooked? I said, yeah, that Mataji has cooked sufficiently, so we can also have some. So he said, okay, no problem. So I had that prasadam. Later, he said, okay, let's go for a walk. So we were walking, just around that area in Vrindavan. So he asked, so now you ate what I ate. Okay, and you also eat Rajbhog. Yeah, not here. Over in Vrindavan also we can eat Rajbhog. Here, Melbourne also we can eat Rajbhog. So, what is the difference? Now also he had prasadam, what I ate, because his prasadam is very light, very simple, Probably quinoa, vegetables, there is no cheese, there is no ghee, very, very, very simple prasadam. So, you have eaten both. So, I told Gurudev, I had to tell you that if I eat, a lot of heavy prasadam, then I feel like, somebody is pulling me down. I have to sleep and there is no energy. Then he said, yes, eat what is required to do service. Heavy instruction. I was thinking, oh my God, immediately we cannot follow. So we had to come to that. It is a reality. We have to actually come to that, eat sufficiently so that we can do our service. That is the point. Ultimately, that is the point. So if we are doing that, then we don't need to deal with obesity, right? Otherwise, we had to deal with that. So this is the checkpoint, eat sufficiently so we can do our service. So don't eat too much, not too little. Yukta ahara viharascha. Very difficult. It takes time to realize this point and to practice. Easy to hear, but it takes time to get to some control of overeating. We try. So always time is there. Keep trying. Now here, Prabhupada also mentioned, even though this devotee was fat, he was bright-faced. He was jubilant. It's a very important point. Prabhupada especially explains in the purport why devotees are bright-faced. Devotees are happy. Why? Why devotees are happy? Any idea? Huh? Because of devotional service. Susukham kartum avyayam. Krishna himself explains, isn't it? Susukham kartum avyayam. So this is a point. Many advanced devotees, when we see us, they ask question, are you happy in Krishna consciousness? Have you heard this question? Are you happy in Krishna consciousness? We think it is what kind of question is this, are you happy in Krishna consciousness? It's a very loaded question. If you are happy in Krishna consciousness, it means that you are doing good. If you are not happy in Krishna consciousness, there are some other problems. So it's a very powerful question. Are you happy in Krishna consciousness? So one devotee was telling he hardly gets any chance to meet his spiritual master. He met personally maybe once or twice in a span of 25 years, 20 or 25 years. He mentioned, first time Maharaj saw him ask this question, are you happy in Krishna consciousness? Then told him, you do whatever services that you like. That make you happy, you do that. Second time, after a few years, this spiritual master met this disciple. Then he asked the same question, are you happy in Krishna consciousness? Then he said, now you can do whatever is asked for. Meaning, initially, everyone wants to do what one likes, right? When we come to, oh, you're good at it, okay, do it. But after some time, we should be ready to do anything. Whatever is needed, we have to do. We cannot pick and choose. That may not be very beneficial for our Krishna consciousness. So we know when we join the ashram or when we are getting trained as a devotee, what happens? We do everything. Whatever we are asked to do, we do it. But some person coming along, we say, oh, you're good at it? Okay, just do this. So this is very important. So again, the question remains, are you happy in Krishna consciousness? So we have to check, am I satisfied in Krishna consciousness? We may not be in ecstasy. We may know our anarthas in the heart, which is okay. Correct? We know our disqualifications. It's good to know our disqualifications, our anarthas. Being humble, that is good. But one has to be satisfied in Krishna consciousness. At least in my capacity, I am doing what I can do. At least there's some satisfaction has to be there. In chanting, we should feel satisfied. At least I am chanting. Whatever level of happiness I am getting, okay, it is there. Of course, I have to do more, but I am doing okay. That happiness has to be there. One shouldn't be completely morose. Seeing the face only, we think, what's going on? What's going on in life? It's like some devotees chant, and if you see their face, we will be thinking, is it really chant and be happy? Is there anything wrong? Any process, anything wrong? Struggling like anything. Okay, so one has to advance from there. Chant and be happy. Feel happy chanting Krishna's names. Be satisfied chanting Krishna's names. It's very important for the devotees. Having prasadam, be happy. Associating with the devotees, be happy. Doing any service, be happy. Because while doing service, we can think about Krishna. It's an offering to Krishna. Why do you have to be dissatisfied? What's wrong? No problem. So one has to be very careful. Now, that's why a devotee is bright-faced. And here, Prahlad Maharaj being scientific, he wants to analyze the symptoms of a pure devotee, of an advanced devotee. So bhakti is both subjective and objective. Generally, the atheistic argument is bhakti and spirituality, it is a subjective process. You say it's working for you, very good. It's good for you, do it. It's not working for you, don't do it. This path is working for you, do it. So even there are psychologists, according to your psychology, we will suggest you which path to choose. Even spiritual path, according to psychology. I have spoken to some of them. They said, I am a psychologist, I study. According to psychology, what meditation you should do? Can you imagine? We say, no, doesn't matter. If you chant Hare Krishna Mahamantra, doesn't mean matter psychology. For any psychology, because we are not psychology, first of all. We are beyond. And so it works for everyone. So this is how it is. So people say that it is your experience, that's it. And there is no objective reality to spirituality. But that's not right. Even Bhagavad Gita, even the second chapter, Krishna makes it clear, it's not just subjective, it is objective. Which section of second chapter, Krishna makes it clear that it is an objective reality rather than subjective? Any idea? Second chapter of Bhagavad Gita, I gave you the already What section of the second chapter? Or Bhakti Shastri, Bhakti Vaibhava, everyone? Parandrishta Nivartate. Not exactly. It's part of it. Which section? It makes it very objective. Symptoms. Now I cannot tell anything more than symptoms. Exactly, the symptoms of a transcendental Siddha Prajnaka Bhasha Samadhi Keshava Siddhatir Kim Prabhasheta Kim Asita Prajeta Kim. Right? This is what is mentioning, a transcendental, how he walks, how he talks, how he sits. What does it mean? How he controls his senses, even in the presence of temptations, how he reacts. These are the qualities, the symptoms of a spiritualist. And what is the first quality? Prajahadi yada kaman. That is the first quality. What is the first quality? What is the first symptom of a spiritualist? Any idea? That encompasses everything. The first symptom. Exactly. This is so. If you think about it, Krishna is present in Prajahadi Sarva Kaman. Directly, no desire for sense gratification. This purport is directing towards the same thing. It's amazing, isn't it? And from there, everything else comes. So Krishna is explaining, no desire for sense gratification. So sense gratification and spiritual life go ill together. The classic example, trying to kindle some fire and then pour a bucket of water. What will happen? Okay, it's going to extinguish very easily. Similarly, we are somehow or other trying to be devotees, chanting Krishna's name, coming to the temple. Then, if we engage in sense gratification, what will happen? It will spoil. So we had to be away from sense gratification. That's why there are 4 regulatory principles. We know what we had to do. Here also it's mentioned atyahara, over collecting, over endeavoring, over eating. We had to be careful so that we can make progress in bhakti. First canto also mentioned, a transcendentalist shouldn't use one's earning for sense gratification. It has to be for liberation, the purpose of liberation. That's the whole purpose, not for sense gratification. Otherwise, it's a trap. It's a trap, big trap for all of us. Even the stages of bhakti showing that bhakti process is objective, isn't it? Very well-defined process. There are stages of bhakti starting from Shraddha, Sadhu Sangha, Bhajana Kriya, Anartha Nivritti, Nishtha, Ruchi, Asakti, Bhava, right? Prema. See these are characteristics, well-defined. These are stages of bhakti. This is how a neophyte is going to be. And this is how the advanced devotee. And all in between. So we are trying to do bhajana kriya. We can say predominantly we are in the stage of bhajana kriya and anartha nivritti. Isn't it? Bhajana kriya, we are trying to do devotion service. And then what happens? Even in devotion service, it is further explained. Devotion service, we are trying to do devotion service. There also there are different symptoms, different anarthas that we deal with. As it is mentioned, the first one is mentioned, Utsahamai. What is Utsahamai? The enthusiasm of a novice, of a neophyte. I am already advanced devotee. I am a devotee. No one else is a devotee. That is the mentality in preaching. I know everything now. I want to preach. I am a devotee. A lot of enthusiasm. Then what happens? One cannot keep up the enthusiasm. Have you seen that? Every day Mangalarati. 32 rounds every day. I am advanced devotee. Then after some time, struggle starts. So the utsahamai is the big enthusiasm in the beginning and everything goes away after some time. So, but we had to go through that. We have seen that in our own life, utsahamai preaching, right? Have you done utsahamai preaching? I have done utsahamai preaching. I came to know, when I came to know all these books, I was thinking, oh, amazing. This is fascinating. And one day, I thought, I'm going to preach to my supervisor. I was a student, I was doing my research work. So today I'll preach to my supervisor. He was a Sri Lankan, not even a Hindu, Buddhist. I'm going to preach to him. So I thought, first step 1, I'll take him to Crossways. So I invited, we have vegetarian food, I have very good, come along. So he came. After that, I took him and there itself I started a little bit of preaching and giving Ishopanishad, good powerful book. So he was not showing so much of interest. He was telling something Buddhism stuff. I didn't understand either. And then I thought, okay, I am a beginner, but I want to preach. So I saw Nityananda Priya Prabhu. Just outside as we were coming out. I said, Prabhu, is my supervisor, Prabhu, please preach to him. He asked me, is he your supervisor? I said, yes. All your studies, everything dependent on him? Are you going? I said, yes. Don't preach. Okay. I said, okay. I didn't understand, but I followed what he said. Can you understand the point? So this is called Utsahamai. We are already very advanced. We want to preach to everyone. And we can be in big trouble. And we want to give high principles. All the regulatory principles to the core. Whoever is coming along, everyone. We want to give the full Bhagavatam in half an hour. It's like, we take them. This is another thing. There used to be devotees, first anyone comes along, first is that Vaikuntha chart. You know that the spiritual world chart. From bottom till top. This is Utsahamai, Utsahamai preaching, enthusiastic preaching, which in which form of Vishnu, Gada and this which hand, everything, all the details are going. But the person is completely bewildered, what's going on? Isn't it? It takes a lot of time, the chart itself is too much, even for a devotee who is practicing for some time, there's a lot of stuff in there. And now if you give a big lecture on that, it'll be trouble. and Utsahamai, and in one's own practice as well as in preaching we can see. Next one is Ghana Taralata, that is enthusiasm, wavering enthusiasm. Wavering enthusiasm. Have you seen that? We can see all the time, right? One time we want to do, one time we don't want to do. Sincerely. That's why we don't tell, chant if you feel like you chant. If you tell that, then there will be a big problem in our society. If you feel like, no, there is no feeling. We are not asking about any feeling. In the sadhana bhakti, there is no question of feeling. Whether you like it or not, do it. So it is mentioned, sadhana is based on bhaya, in one sense. A bit of fear. What will happen if I don't do? Material energy will grab me. So either fear or love. There are two aspects are there. Slowly from fear, one should start liking what we are doing. It will happen, of course. But I am saying that is the beginning. And then it's mentioned Vyudha Vikalpa. Vyudha Vikalpa is a stage in which this can come together or parallel, doesn't really matter. One has so many doubts, especially even regarding ashrama. Am I situated in this ashram? Do I need to renounce life? Am I situated properly? In bhakti, generally, everyone is situated properly automatically. Whether one is a grihastha is situated properly. No need to change anything. No need to change it. Sthana sthita. Whatever position you are in, just continue. Do devotional service. One can make progress, no problem. Doesn't really matter. We heard, recently we all witnessed Prana Prabhu, right? Grihastha, so caring for everyone. Back home, back to Godhead. Why? Bhakti. Prabhu's lecture also, it is filled with bhakti, right? Filled with bhakti, that's the qualification. So even at the time of leaving this world, chanting Krishna's name, thinking about Krishna. So this is what? So sthana sthita, everyone is be peacefully situated in whichever ashram one is. Just continue, that's all. Do bhakti. Doesn't want to think too much. Immediate vanaprastha, immediate, nothing is required. Just continue. That's enough. And then, the interesting thing is that, which is very important, that is the tug of war within the mind, especially. Have you observed tug of war? Vishaya Sangara, tug of war. Feel like, the unwanted things are coming to our mind and we are trying to push them away. We are being, tug of war, pulling from each direction. It can happen internally and it can happen in presence of sense gratification. Go through somewhere, we see something nice to eat. I feel like eating. We know it's not prasadam. Feel like eating. Can you see tug of war in the mind? So almost, I know that I shouldn't watch in a movie, but I want to, I feel like watching the movie. Tug of war. So it is good to have such tug of war. If we identify, yes, there is a war going on, which is very good. Then we can pray to the Lord. We can safeguard ourselves. If we are weak and if mind is going like this, just go and speak to some devotees. Not necessarily even speak to the same problem. Speak something to some devotees. Anything about Krishna, it will help. Alone we may not be able to survive. Go to some devotees, speak about Krishna. Then our mind changes. So we had to go through this. And then there is another stage also, that is Niyamakshama. Niyamakshama here is particularly referring to, one cannot properly do, one can want to do things properly, one cannot do it. So the Niyamakshama specifically in this regard. One wants to chant properly, but one cannot because of the material conditioning. So one has to push through it. So these are different symptoms since we have anarthas or unwanted things in our heart. Which is okay. And it is mentioned even if one goes through everything and one is almost pure, meaning pure in the sense, in the stage of nishtha, in the stage of steady, even almost there, not yet there, then also there is a problem. That is, one is quite controlled and everything is okay. Still, there is something known as Taranga Rangini, meaning devotees show respect. Devotees can treat very specially, you are a special person, then one can attach to that. Say, for example, here everyone is telling, Haribol, how are you? Oh, you come here, giving some recognition. You go to somewhere else, they don't know you. Then we feel, oh, what happened to me? I'm sitting behind, nobody is looking at me. So if one is attached, one can feel like that. Can you see this Tarangarangani? Even that is also an obstacle to come to the stage of steadiness. So one has to be very careful. So bhakti is very scientific, very objective. That's why different stages are described. Even a given stage, different symptoms are given. And so here, Prahlad Maharaj is being very objective in understanding symptoms of a pure devotee. And so he now inquires from this python man who is performing Ajagraya Vritti and asking, why are you so fat? You are not working, you are just lying down at one spot, just like a Ajagara, just like a python. Python you know, right? Just lying there. Whatever comes in the own way, eats and just lie there. That's it. So why are you so fat now? And I can understand that you are very advanced. Seeing the physiognomy of this python man, Prahlad Maharaj could understand that he's a very advanced person. So that's fine. Then don't consider this impudent question. Please explain. So we can see that this Brahmana, he starts explaining what is he going through, and he explains amazing philosophy, that those are the verses to come. So I stop here and see if there are any questions or any comments. Yes, Prabhu, is there a microphone so that our online speakers can listen?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Wonderful class, Prabhu. Thank you so much. Dandavat Pranam. Just a question about the four sampradayas you were talking. Four sampradayas which you were talking about.
Yes.
So when we go to different places in India, specifically like Sri Rangam or probably southern part of India, there are so many other temples where it's predominantly Sri Vaishnavates.
Yes.
So there are so many acharyas there. We tend to speak with them. We tend to take classes with them. I mean, is that good to have? Because they also speak about Krishna Kathas and the pastimes of the Bhagavatas there. So just wondering if even that is considered as devotion, right? Like devotional service.
We are not saying no one else has devotion or anything of that sort. We are telling how to protect our devotion. So to protect our devotion, first we had to be quite fixed in the teachings of Srila Prabhupada. Why? Teachings of Srila Prabhupada is coming from the Goswamis. And the Goswamis' teachings are coming from Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is Krishna himself in the mood of Srimati Radharani. So Prabhupada has given the highest teaching to go back home, back to Godhead, in a specific mood in Goloka, Vrindavan. So now there are other sampradayas, they are bona fide. We know the four sampradayas, they are bona fide. They are worshipping Krishna, Vishnu, Ram, all bona fide. We are not saying nothing is not bona fide or anything of that sort, but we had to be very careful when we are associating with anyone else. Careful. We do listen from others, one, but that cannot be the predominant teaching that we are taking. That cannot be our primary shiksha. If we want to follow Prabhupada, then Prabhupada and his followers have to be our primary shiksha. Other sampradayas cannot be our primary shiksha. So if we go to a place, an acharya is speaking, we may hear, that's fine. We move on. But one has to be quite careful that that's not our primary shiksha. So when we listen to lectures also, we had to be selective. Predominantly we had to take instruction from Srila Prabhupada and his followers, not from other sampradayas. Because bhakti is very fine. Bhakti has a particular flavor and mood. And Srila Prabhupada and devotees, they are actually carrying that mood and they are giving that particular mood. And we need to imbibe the mood and mission of Srila Prabhupada. That is the need of any follower of ISKCON. So it's not just namesake. We need to understand the mood and mission. Both are very important. And that's why it is very important to taking shiksha within ISKCON. For us. For others, yes, they have their path. We don't have any problem with that. But we had to be quite careful. Because the bhakti is so very fine, very refined. And also this worship is in a particular mode. Generally when we talk, everything is bhakti. Not everything. If it is coming from the proper source, it is bhakti. But as one advances, one will be able to see that it is more refined and there is a particular mood in it. And we want to align towards that. And that's why we are very careful, that's all. Does that make sense? Yeah. Yeah.
Krishna also wants our association, right? But he also feels happy, and also we reciprocate with him. So just one confusion, like, why did he create different kinds of sampradayas or different kinds of religions? When why not only Krishna consciousness all over, like only one sampradaya, so that there is no confusion?
So the question is, why Krishna created different sampradayas? Different religions. Specifically, even sampradayas, we can specifically speak about different sampradayas because that is the topic of discussion. Different sampradayas are there because different devotees want to worship the Lord in different mood, in different ways. So the Lord is reciprocating to different devotees. That's why there are different forms of the Lord also. Krishna, then the question is, why only Krishna? Only Krishna is in a why there is Lord Ram. Why there is Narasimha Dev, there is Vamana, Matsya, Kurma, Narasimha, Vamana, Hayagriva. Why all these different incarnations? Because the Lord himself wants to enjoy in different ways, and he also wants to facilitate the moods of different devotees. The Supreme Lord, he can do everything. So he has unlimited expansions, and through that he can facilitate the desire of different devotees. Can you see? So it's not like, either one or nothing else. No, it's not like that. So they are all speaking about bhakti. So when it is pure bhakti, even other traditions, even other religions, if they are talking about pure bhakti, we accept, yes, this is pure bhakti. Make sense?
Yes,
so it is to reciprocate to different devotees. Why? Because we are all individuals. It's our choice. There is no force. Whichever way we want to worship, we can worship. So there are different teachings in this world.
Yes. So do they go to a different planet like we?
Yeah, whatever you desire, that you get. And whatever you desire, and you have to pay for that also. Nothing is free. Just believe. No, nothing will happen. It's a good start, but that's not the end. So one has to be very careful about it. So that's why there are different lokas. Even starting from the material world. Krishna explains in Bhagavad Gita because we have to be very careful. Yanti deva vardhan yanti, pitrun yanti pitur vardhan, bhutani yanti bhutejya, yanti madhyajinopi mam. Makes it very clear. So, not just, everyone is not going to go to the spiritual world. Devan devejo yanti. One who is worshipping the different devatas, Indra, Chandra, Varna, Vayu, Brahma, you go to their world. They are in the material world, it's higher than here, but you go to material planet within this universe. Pitran yanti pitrvardhan. One who worships Pitras, they go to the Pitraloka, which is down. It's also heavenly, bottom of the universe. It's also heavenly, so Pitraloka. Bhutani yanti bhutejya. One who worships Bhuta goes, they go to their loka. And yanti madhya ajinobhimam. One who worships me, you come to my abode, spiritual abode. So, even according to the attraction to different incarnation, one goes to that respective planet, even in the spiritual world. Because it's all about devotion, it's about the mood of that bhakti, the rasa. So it's not that everyone goes to Goloka Vrindavan, no. Spiritual world is very much variegated. There are so many varieties, there are so many planets. Even in the spiritual world, even material world, there are so many planets. And what to speak about the spiritual world? It's like the Tripada Vibhuti, right? In the three part, that is the spiritual world in that sense. Okay?
Yes. Thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Yes. Come to that.
I was thinking about the condition of different sects, different religions. This is because
Can you give that microphone to Mataji, please?
I was thinking also why we have different religions is because the people, the persons are under the influence of different varieties of the gunas, and they cannot follow the Sanatana Dharma principles. That's why there are so many different religions with their rules and regulations, which they help eventually, through many lifetimes, elevate them to the principles of Sanatana Dharma, because not everyone can follow our rules and regulations, the spiritual rules of regulations of the freedom, because when we do, not everyone can give up sense gratification, not everyone can give up meat eating, not everyone can give up many rules we have, like no intoxication. So these different religions are set up with the different rules, what this particular type of person can follow, so gradually through many lifetimes can elevate them. And there is no compromise that with these principles, because sense gratification is like a switch here. If you sense gratification is with these senses, when we get in touch with the material objects, we get attached to the material nature. And this is like turning off the light. When we stop sense gratification, we engage in spiritual activities, we switch on this. It's simple as that. Because the senses are attaching us to the material life and to the material nature, and this is purely scientific. And it will attach us to that mode of material nature depending on what kind of sense objects we are enjoying. For example, if we enjoy the sense objects in the mode of ignorance, we will get attached to the mode of ignorance, and we will experience the effects of mode of ignorance. For example, someone who eats meat, who takes drugs, alcohol, that's all in mode of ignorance, will get attached in mode of ignorance, and effect of mode of ignorance is sickness, and etc., etc. So different religions are just basically to help people elevate them from where they are, and on their take them to the path to Sanatana Dharma.
Thank you. Kaushalyanand Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, thank you. 2 quick points, Prabhuji. One, Utsamai preaching. Generally, we do that to parents when we come to the temple here.
100%.
And then go back, I'm not this body, I'm not this, you are. No one is anyone's father, no one is anyone's son.
That's it. Which father, which mother, which lifetime? Then there will be a problem.
Big problem. One question. You mentioned so many Prabhupada's books. Nectar of Devotion, Nectar of Instruction, Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Charitamrita, Laghu Bhagavatamrita, Brihad Bhagavatamrita. For a person who is not academic like me, and I know that we will never be able to study those books at least in this lifetime. Does that mean that we have no hope, perfection?
No, everyone can read Prabhupada's books, right?
Not all of them, or not this vast knowledge what is present.
No. Everyone can read Prabhupada's books. No excuse. No excuse. Everyone can read Prabhupada's books. Prabhupada wanted everyone to read. Just read it. Now I'm saying, at least we don't need to ask for others. Generally speaking, devotees can read. I have seen older people, they started reading after 70. They wanted to start reading not from English, so they have native language book. Read the whole Bhagavatam. So some motivation has to be there. Then it's possible. The devotee should all aim to read all Prabhupada's books. Yeah? Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. We conclude. One more last question. Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Yeah.
But you spoke about when we visit the dhams, how we should not stay there for longer. Our natural consciousness can come in. Initially, the enthusiasm and all that can wane away, and instincts can take up. But normally, when we do visit many dhams, as a family, let's say, how one should plan their trip so that it doesn't become a religious tourism, like you said. We see so much that before you go, you get tangled into all those activities of eating, taking children out, even the various temples, so many visitors, because you're so tired and exhausted and all that, you get
That's okay.
carried
The
away.
main thing is, let it be centered around hearing and chanting. Think about going to the dham and there's no proper hearing and chanting. Even struggling to chant 16 rounds, think about that. Are we really doing any justification to visiting dham? Not really. So, we should increase our hearing and chanting. And if we have sufficient hearing and chanting, then everything will be taken care. So it's fine, going with family, we may go to prasadam restaurants, we may eat, this is all fine. We go to different temples, but again, the problem is sometimes we want to do just like a tourist, going to all the temples one day, cover as many temples as possible and take photos. So that will not work. So, wherever you're going, try to get absorbed. How? Again, by hearing and chanting. You chant. If nobody is there, you just chant. Sit and chant there, pray. Very simple. It's not complicated at all. So whichever temple you can cover, but spend sufficient time. There, devotees can make into tourism just covering, today, as many temples as possible today. And there is no time to absorb. So try to absorb, that's all. And if that is there, it's all good.
Well, I've got one more question, if you allow me.
Yeah.
While I have you. We hear a lot about sincerity aspect of in devotion or in devotion service. One is that we talk about individual natures are there and different anarthas are there. We all understand we are trying to overcome our anarthas. There are challenges, successes, failures and all that. But we talk a lot about sincerity in practice. So I don't want to give a lecture myself on what do I understand. Can you say something about what does sincerity actually means when we're dealing with trying to improve ourselves, our devotional, like a sadhana? Is it like just by driving our intelligence, engaging ourselves more and more? But what does sincerity means?
Very simple answer to this in regard to sadhana. Are we actually trying to improve? Are we trying, do we really have the desire to improve? Are we doing something about it? It can be quite objective again. Yes. Just check, I'm chanting 60, first, am I chanting 16 rounds? First question, yes, tick. Very simple. Next, of the 16 rounds, how many rounds am I able to listen? Or, we naturally we feel right. After 16 rounds, we can almost judge, okay, few rounds it was okay, after that it wasn't okay, right? Are we putting effort to make some improvement? That is a sincere attempt. To an example, that is a sincere attempt. Okay, we are identifying what we are doing and trying to go to the next step. So in any aspect of devotion service, we are doing this, try to go to the next step. Prabhupada also